Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dylan versus Dylan Diaries. Today, I want to talk about something that's probably maybe a little bit more heavier for moms out there. And this is all about how to navigate and manage through anxiety while parenting. This is something that is just it's such a heavy subject, right? Because I think the first step is just acknowledging and identifying that you may have anxiety. Um, that was something that I'm not going to say it was difficult for me to realize, but I think maybe difficult for me to accept, right? Um, Full disclosure, I've battled through, depression off and on since I was younger, and then all through my adulthood. So having a good therapist and a good doctor or psychiatrist to maybe prescribe you whatever you might need to get through that. I did have a bout of postpartum depression, which was brutal. I had that bout really after having my 19-year-old daughter, Jada, is when I really realized that I was struggling. And boy, that was like, it was hard because I was giving my husband a fit. I really was. I had a lot of anxiety just about like, if he still wanted to be with me or something gonna happen to her. Um, but I still struggle with anxiety right now to this day. Um, and I find that it's okay to openly say that. It's okay for me, and even, for others, you might not be ready, but for me, it's okay to share it. It's okay to say it. Yes, I have anxiety. There are days that I am great. And then there are days that I wake up and I'm just like super anxious and super on edge about something. And to be honest, all of my anxiety resonates around my children. All of it, my children, my family, my husband included. Um, it's it gets heavy. Um, I'm that mom that when they were born, all of them, I would keep running in the room and checking to see are they breathing. Um, Even now to this day, my 19-year-old, she might decide to sleep in a little later. And sometimes I come in there and I just like, I got to make sure are you good? Like, are you good? And they laugh at me. All of them, the older girls laugh at me because they're like, Mom, you always did that. You always just randomly would come in at random times and just, touch us. And are y'all good? Are y'all breathing? But I don't know, something just comes over you as a mom that you want to be the protector. You want to be the mama bear. And you want to make sure that they're always good and they're always okay. And I think my anxiety started getting heavier as I went through the growth process of them growing up, right? So when they started driving, oh my God, it's anxiety around that. And when they start hanging out with friends, or my oldest daughter Bria, when she went away to college, there was a lot of anxiety around that. I was having some serious separation anxiety. Um, it's just the graduating from high school for all of them. I had anxiety around that. And so having twins, oh my God, it's like times two. Like being a mom of multiples, twins, triplets, all of those things. My moms of multiples can relate, or even being a mom of children that are all like in the same age group. Like if you have a 1 year old and 2 year old, or a 3 year old, and 4 year old, it is so stressful at times. It's amazing. It's a blessing. But the amount of anxiety that I have worrying about two little humans at the same time that are the same age, I am, when they're at school, I'm like constantly like, okay, what are they doing? What are they thinking about? What are they this? What are they that? Um, it can be sometimes anxiety around their little fights. Like sometimes you just come home from work and you're just not in the mood, right? And they get me going because they get to fighting and arguing, and then there are days where they just loving on each other. And then it's the anxiety when they don't feel well. When they're babies and they can't tell you what's wrong, and you have to be the parent to really pay attention. and try to assume and figure out what's wrong and take them to the doctor. And then it's always the anxiety. Oh my God, okay, my one child has this illness. Is the other child going to get that illness? And 9 times out of 10, majority of the time, I know for me, if one gets it, they both get it. So there's a lot of anxiety around that. I had so much anxiety even around, selecting what elementary school they were going to go to. That was extremely hard for me. I was really emotional. I think that emotional process of transitioning from, okay, their daycare center, daycare school, to going to actual elementary school. And I had to think about, okay, Brandy, do you want them to go to their neighborhood school, or do you want to figure out a charter school, or do you want them to go to private school? And the church that I go to, they have a private school, and I really wanted them to go to that school. I really was considering that. But when I called and I asked what the fees were, and then I went on a website and they're like, oh, the fees are X, Y, and Z. And then I'm like, okay, well, I go to work early in the morning and, I have to pick them up. So they're going to have before care and after care. And then when they tacked on those fees, and then, everything is for me is ×2. So it was ×2. I said, Jesus, Lord, I love you dearly, but they ain't going to be able to go here. So I said, okay, private school, that's out, and that's okay. It works for some. It's not going to work for me. All right. The daycare payments were already kicking my tail. And, I wasn't ready for that private school tuition. Yeah. Your girl wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. So, I had to think about, all right, so my neighborhood school, right? I started searching for daycare centers close to my neighborhood school because before and after care. Now, the school does allow before and after care, but with the schools before and after care, when the school is closed, the before and after care is closed. So during spring break, they'll be closed. If the weather is inclement, but it's inclement for the school system, but not necessarily all daycare centers necessarily closed, but the school daycare center before and after will be closed. So I had to think about that. That was difficult for me. And I had trouble finding areas near here where I live that actually would go to the neighborhood school. So I was like, oh my God, listen, you guys, the anxiety that I had around this was like really like, I remember having a session with my therapist, and I think the whole time, or majority of the time, we talked about like this school situation and what am I going to do and how am I going to figure this out. It was really hard. So then I said, okay, well, let me see about this charter school thing, right? Like, how is that going to work? And I realized that the daycare center they go to, a couple of the charter schools, they will transport them back and forth to, because with the charter schools, there's no transportation. You do have to pick your child up and pick them, drop them off and pick them up. And there, there's no school bus system and all of that. So I had to go on and figure out this whole lottery thing, the dates, when you can enter in their information, have their IDs from the county, and do all of that. And oh my God, I remember sitting at work like trying to look for this stuff during my break, and I'm like, oh, somebody please, could somebody help me with this? And a lot of times, I noticed that myself and a lot of people included, when you do have anxiety, you tend to not want to deal with things. You rather just put it off to the side because it's causing you so much stress that you're like, I'll get to that later. But when you're dealing with your kids and your babies and having to meet deadlines and certain things, like, you can't do that. So I knew I had to like toughen it up and push through and get all the data and get all the information and enter in the system and do all the things and get on the waiting list. And so the waiting list one day came open, or the time for it to come open, the portal to come open for you to like, select the school that you wanted. So I remember it came open at like whatever, it was midnight or whatever the day it was. I stayed up until midnight. I was on that portal at 12 midnight. I was typing so fast, like this school, this school, this school, this school, this school. So I picked 2 schools, my first choice and my second choice. And I was like, damn, good. And I felt like they were high enough up on the queue that they would be selected. So you wait a few months and then you get email notification from the county or whatever from the school. And I got both schools that I wanted actually, and I had to choose. But the thing about it is, for Harper and Hayes, they were both selected for the one school, and one of them was selected for the other school, and the other one wasn't. But they said because they were twins, the other one would end up getting in. So I selected my first choice. Um, and they have been doing really, really well at the school. I went to the orientation. I met their teachers, two amazing ladies, and at this particular charter school, they actually switch classes. So one has math and social studies, and the other one has English and whatever the other subjects are. And then they go to PE, they go to music and do all those things. And they absolutely love it there. But more importantly, the teachers actually love my babies. And that's what I find most fulfilling. They communicate with me well. They communicate with them well. So all is good on that front. But it's it's still like anxiety. Now it's the homework coming home, the homework packets, and that's like times two. And both of them learn differently. Um, Both of them, Harper is really into the studies and really eager to, do her work. Hayes, and people tell me it's the boy thing, but he's like, I could take it or leave it. Some days he's excited about doing the work. Other days he's like, mm, and I kind of got to push him along. Um, and I always like to say that he's kind of like a little lazy learner, meaning that he's okay with somebody else doing it for him or helping him do it versus trying to do it on his own so he can hurry up and get through it. But I have recognized that they learn differently. And so my husband and I had to adjust to that, and to kind of keep the stress down for all parties involved. Because I think homework time gives us all anxiety. I mean, me, my husband, Harper, Hayes, we're all like, whoo! By the time it's over, we all sick of each other. But what I found works best for us is to separate them. I mean, we're still in the same room. We still do the work in the kitchen or the dining room, but my husband will take one and I'll take the other, and we switch off. Sometimes I have Harper, sometimes he has Harper, but one of us has one, the other has the other. And we focus on getting through the same thing. Sometimes one might finish a little bit before the other, and that's okay, but we teach them like to not compare to each other. Even though a lot of times twins are compared to each other, but not to compare to each other, just to pay attention to what you can do and what you can control and what you know. So that has been actually working well. But Hayes, he still needs a little bit more help, and I recognize that I'm gonna have to probably put him in like some after school tutoring. So I'm looking into my options for that. And that's another level of anxiety, right? You start going on the website and you start looking at different places, and then there's the costs, and then I'm looking at the reviews, and then I'm looking at, okay, well, what times would be beneficial? And then I'm like, okay, but if I have Hayes in it, should I just go ahead and put Harper in it? I'm getting referrals from friends and needing to make the phone calls to the people now to kind of figure that out. But I kind of put it to the side for 2.2 seconds because I was getting a little overwhelmed. So the key for me with the anxiety is recognizing, okay, Brandy, this is a day where it's too much for you. Maybe you were overstimulated today by some other things. So let's put it to the side. Let's take a break from it. We can come back to it later. But the key is making sure that you come back to it, because you have to get through it, right? And a lot of times anxiety is really being upset or overstimulated or feeling a way about something that hasn't even happened yet. It's your thoughts going before the actual event has even occurred. And so I've been trying to work better on like controlling the thoughts and not thinking about outcomes that can be negative and more so focusing around positive outcomes. So I'm like, okay, I have to tell myself, well, if you go ahead and start looking for the tutor and contacting the tutors and getting the information now, once you get them started, the positive end result is that Hayes is doing better with certain subjects, or writing or reading, or Hayes is feeling more confident because he has other tools that he can use to navigate through his work that maybe mommy just didn't know and just couldn't give him, and that's okay. So I think that's a good way to try to get through anxiety, is instead of thinking about a negative result from something, is to think more about, well, if this happens, what will be the positive result, right? um, and then understanding too that not everything is going to happen like how we want it to, and that's okay, and we need to be okay with that. But it is a lot. There's a lot of anxiety too around like what is happening in the world. And like one of the biggest things that I have anxiety around as it relates to my children is, the dismantling of the Department of Education. I do have anxiety around that. Um, that is like a really big thing right now. That's a really big deal. And how is it going to negatively impact my my family, you know? So just to give you an example, because I like to look things up and looking some things up. Some of the ways that dismantling the Department of Education can negatively affect the states. Obviously, it reduces federal state support and funding, which has already happened. They've already said they're cutting millions of dollars from the state of Maryland that we cannot afford from the educational system. Let's see. So that will affect school infrastructure, resources, and all the programs that children really need, after school programs, tutoring programs, funding for free lunch and all those things. So increased states burden, obviously, it'll strain the state's budgets. I mean, really. Loss of federal standards and accountability. So states could, you can go and see a disparity of education across the states. So, for instance, blue states tend to, do better in education than red states. So that's going to potentially get worse. But then also, even in some blue states, okay, so there's still a standard that should be set. So children that are in more disadvantaged situations should be able to get the same education as someone else has that's in a better financial standing. Vulnerable populations, that I just said that, disadvantaged groups. Disruption of federal and state coordination. So grants, research, data collection. It's just going to hinder improving education efforts across the entire company. Negative impact on innovation. Yeah, because we don't have the one big overarching group to refer back to coordinate everything, to say, how can we change for the future and get better? So it just says, in summary, dismantling the Department of Education could lead to decreased funding, increased disparities, and a greater burden on states to manage and regulate education, potentially undermining the quality and equity of education across the country. I mean, how can you not have anxiety after listening to all of that? So I'm like, well, how is this going to work? So my thoughts, they start going like, oh my God, are we going to have to close down some of the charter schools? Are we going to have to close down some schools? Are some schools not going to be able to be remodeled anymore? Or are they not going to be able to pay teachers? They already don't pay teachers enough, but is there going to be a freeze on raises? Like, what is going to happen? And so I'm like, a lot of things I'm trying to pray about, but it's hard. It's tough right now. So as a mom, as a parent, hearing these things, how they're negatively affecting, everyone around you, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so I'm just trying to pour into my children and love on them as much as I can. And I'm thankful that they are in the school that they're in right now and they're getting the education that they're getting. But I am concerned. I am concerned. And to this day, so I'm still managing through, right? So I would say if you're a mom and, you know, you are just, having some trouble, the first step is, going and talking to somebody, getting your feelings out. And it's okay to talk to your family, to your friends, and then, maybe consider talking to a professional, which I always say is the best because they went to school and they're educated in the tools that we need to navigate through it. I think it's always good to do that. But talk to somebody, get it out. Don't let it fester. Don't let it stay within you. When I talk about my anxiety and the day that I'm having with my husband, it always makes me better at the end because I'm able to just get it out. And sometimes I can't do anything with those feelings. Sometimes, like, even just telling him, it's nothing that he can do about it, depending on what the subject is, but I got it out. I said it out loud. Like, this is bothering me. This is giving me anxiety. This, has me feeling away, and I don't know why I'm feeling this way. Just being able to do that will help you. And then making a decision if you feel like you need a little bit of extra help with, taking something. I do take an anxiety medication and I do take a depression medication, and I'm okay to say that. Is that for you? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe smoking a J is your thing. I don't know. That's not my thing, but that might be your thing. Whatever it is, that's not something that can make you sick or harm you, or, you don't want to pick up a bad habit to get through your anxiety, right? So medical marijuana is good for people to use, obviously under the care of the doctor or whoever is prescribing it. But let's not go to any other substance. Let's not do any substance abuse or anything like that. But really just trying to understand your feelings. And then I would say recognizing that you are just having a day and taking a step back when you're having a day. And then that's okay. Like, sometimes I wake up and I tell my husband, I'm having a mental health day. Yes, I am. I'm feeling away. I'm feeling away. I'm feeling away. And that's a day where he's like, I got it. Let me get up. Let me cook. Let me make breakfast. Let me tend to them. You just get your rest. You just chill. You just, maybe you need to go do something for you. So it's good to also have like a supportive partner, supportive family members to help you get through it. The other piece of the anxiety that I have, and this is not around the twins, this is around my older daughter, the grad school, or not the grad school, she's going to school for PhD. And the school that she's going to right now, there's threats and cuts in funding for her school and what she's doing. And she's not sure if she's going to be able to get the PhD. And, if she goes through the school and it lasts the program, but like, will she be able to do what she wants to do when she gets out, which is be a professor? That's a lot of anxiety. I have anxiety for her. She has anxiety about it, but I have anxiety for her. So it doesn't stop. I'm saying that to say whether your children are 30 or 2, the feeling is the same. It's just anxiety at different levels, just depending on where they're at. So imagine, as I told you, I have 6 children. So thinking about that, 6 children and a grandbaby now. That's a lot of worrying to do. Woo! But I want to be here for them. I want to continue to enjoy the good parts of life, because all parts of life are not good, but majority of them are. So I want to enjoy the good parts of life and, have fun with my family, have fun with my husband, and have fun with the kids and do things, have fun with the community and the people around me. I want to be able to do those things. So in order to really, really do those things and enjoy those things, I can't let the anxiety get the best of me. So today's conversation was just really, well, I wouldn't say conversation because I'm just talking to you. Today's video, I would say, is more just trying to give you a little glimpse into my world and how I kind of deal with situations as it relates to anxiety and anxiety around parenting. Um, but more to come. I have more tips to share. And listen, I am still a work in progress, okay? But I want you to know that today was a good day for me. My anxiety on a scale of 1 to 10 was probably like a 2. So we're doing good today. All right, so don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video, okay? More to come. Stay tuned.